well, I might kick us off because we've got a lot to get through today, a very inspiring discussion. I'm thrilled to be introducing you to some amazing speakers and an incredible story. Before I get started, I'd like to acknowledge traditional owners of and all Aboriginal people on all the lands that we're on today. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, I acknowledge traditional custodians of country, recognising continuing connection to land, sea, culture and community. And I extend that acknowledgement to all Aboriginal people here today. We pay our respects to elders past and present. I'm on beautiful Gadigal country today, and I'm sure everyone is all over Australia. So if you'd like to, drop in the chat where you're at today. I'm so thrilled to be hosting this webinar where we're highlighting the incredible and very inspiring work of WAITOC and its members. We've been so fortunate to get to work with WAITOC and ATWA in the last 18 months or so to help pull together the story of impact, moving beyond outcomes and beyond economic impact. And I'm really thrilled to be able to introduce to you Rob Taylor, who's the CEO of ATWA and WAITOC. And Robert is a Nunda Yamaji man from Western Australia. He's also the chair of the First Nations Visitor Economy Partnership. Rob has more than 30 years experience. Well, actually, Robert says 36 years experience in hospitality and tourism, and he's led transformative change in Aboriginal tourism, shifting the focus from marketing to business development and sustainability. Robert has secured funding across all levels of government and philanthropy and continues to advocate for Aboriginal-led opportunities nationally and internationally. And I'm sure all of you know, if you've met Rob, you know he's an incredible force with a huge vision that's pioneering so much of this work around Australia and internationally. So thank you, Rob, for making time for us today. Emily Dalton is a recent addition to WA's coastline, coming from Brisbane 2 years ago. She works in data administration and memberships at WAITOC and is eager to share the impact of Aboriginal tourism with the broader community. And we've had the chance to work really closely with Emily over the last couple of many months as she's worked with the Seer platform to tell the story of impact. And we're really lucky to have Tony Wilton join us today, who's one of WAITOC's incredible Aboriginal tourism businesses. Tony, there was an amazing write-up about you and your work together with WAITOC in Philanthropy Australia's inspirational giving stories. And I was really inspired to read your whole history and really grateful that you're with us today to tell us more about your vision and what you're doing. Tony is a Nunda man who grew up in Kalbarri and returned from Broome to reconnect to his ancestral land, where he visited the Skywalk tourist attraction northeast of town, and he realised the cafe was closed up. So he's taken it on and reopened it, and we're going to hear his story today. So thank you so much, everyone. So now I'm going to hand over to Rob, who's going to walk us through the story.
Thank you, Christy, and welcome everyone. Yeah, so I suppose WAITOC started 20 odd years ago with some of the Aboriginal tourism businesses in the Kimberleys wanting to, create some kind of support mechanism for their businesses. And over the last 23 years, it's grown from, what it was originally, which was an advocacy body, into a marketing body, and then further into what we do today and around the business development. So our purpose is to try to get this sector, the Aboriginal tourism sector, noticed in global markets, and as it says, creating the foundation for a strong, resilient and sustainable Aboriginal tourism business sector in Western Australia, but also, as Christy mentioned, which we'll talk about a bit later, in a national perspective as well. I believe there's another slide. Who is running that? Thank you. So again, the board's vision. So WAITOC has a board of 8 Aboriginal tourism businesses that are elected through our membership, because we're a membership organisation from across Western Australia, And then also we have 2 independent directors, which was a change in our constitution that the board thought would be a really good idea to get those experts on our board that can help us with different parts of our journey as we move along through it. So we really work strongly on making the Aboriginal tourism sector in WA a thriving sector, working with Tourism WA and the state government, as well as our philanthropy partners in our new partnership. So we are looking at, driving the Aboriginal tourism sector to be self-determined, and also the capacity building we do to help the members understand how to work in their business, as well as support them in that infrastructure piece as well where needed. So our vision is to, and our mission is to make WA a leading place for Aboriginal tourism. So as it says here, we're really trying to educate government, industry, other organisations, as well as the visitor that comes to WA on Aboriginal culture, because through Tourism Research Australia, showing the statistics around the want of Aboriginal tourism is something that's important to us, and we advocated to get some questions in the visitor survey so that people could understand when they come here, it's not just about one Aboriginal experiences, because every culture across right across Australia is different, which is something we try and educate the visitor on as well. So our mission is to try and make everyone understand how diverse our culture is across Australia, as well as obviously Western Australia where we sit. So the 3 main things we do, as I mentioned a bit earlier, so we do advocacy at all different levels, from local, state, national, and even international, because we also run the World Indigenous Tourism Alliance, which is like an international version of WAITOC. We started with our marketing first, around probably 20 years ago, and now we have quite a good marketing portfolio with brochures, websites, etc. So that's really important, and we have partnerships again with different organisations across our state, as well as working with Tourism Australia at that level as well. And then the newest edition, well, when I say new, it's probably around 10 years old now, because I've been here for 10 years at WAITOC as a CEO, coming from the board before that, is our business development. So we have different components of that, from a business, an Aboriginal Tourism Academy or an accelerator. We have a business hub which supports the back end of the businesses as they need it. The accelerator is more about a mentoring role. We have our partnerships, as I said, with Tourism Western Australia and other organisations, as well as support from our philanthropy section as well. So I'll flick to the next slide, please. Okay, so Aboriginal Tourism WA is a new addition. It's only just coming into its 4th year. But a while back, again, as I mentioned a little bit about our intention to have independent directors. So part of that process with our board was we needed to diversify our income. So before ATWA came into place, it was 98%, WAITOC was 98% funded from the state government. So since we put this new charitable arm in place, we've now reduced that want on the government by 50%. So we're now sort of 50-50 with state government funding and then our philanthropy partners as well, which is a great outcome for us. So that's sort of a quick run through of what WAITOC and Aboriginal Tourism WA is about. And I'll hand back to you, Christy, I think, because you were going to hand over to one of our members who's been part of our programs.
Thank you so much, Rob, and really excited to introduce you to Tony. So Tony, it would be great to hear your story, a little bit about your work, your business, and how you connected with WAITOC. Tony, sorry to interrupt you. Still can't hear you, Tony.
Okay. Sorry, I unmuted myself. I'd muted myself because there are a lot of tourists in the background. So
that's good.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate the intro. And yeah, just would you like to hear a little bit of the my story before getting on to my connection with WAITOC at the moment?
That sounds great.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you.
So I was born in the Kalbarri area of Western Australia, and I was born in 1966, and Kalbarri at that stage was a little fishing village, and supplemented by the stations around it and the farms, and some of the lead mining which was still taking place at that stage. But the lead mining was starting to die off, and a lot of my Aboriginal family were working on the station here at the Murchison House station, which is one of the earliest European stations set up on the West Coast. And so we were a first contact people. And in the 1970s, a lot of the station work had died off for us because of government policy, and we all know the story. But we had to leave the area. Most of us left the area because of economic reasons. And so we really moved off our traditional lands in this area because we needed to exist in the modern world, and we needed schools and houses and jobs and things like that. So our families moved us away, but I can still remember when we were here and still living our traditional lives along the river, and all of the our shelters and that we used to live in, and it's just a real free and easy, carefree life. Well, it seemed that way because I was a child, I suppose. But yeah, look, and because of that, we were basically a diaspora away from our homeland. And just recently, we've had the opportunity to come full circle, a lot of us, and there's quite a few of us now back on our land, our traditional lands, and engaged in business and working in the community, and building our name back in the place where we all are from. And I'm just one piece of the puzzle, basically. And so I am electrical construction is my background, and I've traveled the world with my work. I've got a lot of experience that I've brought to the table in the business that we've chosen to be in, which is serving coffee and cake to people, which I really do love. But to do it in this area at the Skywalk, the government created this place, and I was just totally unaware of it, really. I was completely blissfully ignorant of the Skywalk and what its purpose was in tourism. And as the story goes, I came out one day. We were operating a mobile food business in Kalbarri, and just brought some friends out one day and had a look at the place and went, wow, saw my family all on the storyboards, saw those faces from the past peering out at me. And I thought, what a special place. And I looked at the cafe, and the cafe was just completely derelict. And straight away, my business mind went opportunity. And so I made some inquiries, and there were a couple of other businesses in the area that were sniffing around. And I made inquiries to the DBCA, and long story short, we were shoehorned into the cafe. And we've been here, this is our 3rd year of operation. And in those 3 years, my sister initially said to me, you should contact Rob Taylor at WAITOC. And I have always been a do-it-yourself kind of person, but I thought to myself, well, now is the time for me to reconnect with everybody. And so I made the initial approach, and I'm so glad I did, because WAITOC over the last 3 years has helped our business in the areas that Rob outlined, but in even deeper, more meaningful areas for me. I'm keenly aware that the WAITOC also possesses the ability for us to network with other go-ahead Indigenous businesses and cross-pollinate with people in a way that I never had considered that would be possible. And it basically, you know, running businesses and doing things for yourself gives you a certain amount of, how would I put it, like self-fulfillment. But in the arena that WAITOC have opened up for us, it also gives me a stronger feeling, a sense of Aboriginality and connection, in that we traditionally have never really sort of fitted the mold of the traditional narrative, I suppose. And it suits, I'm sorry if I'm losing track here, but it suits us. WAITOC have just opened my eyes to the wider Indigenous experience, if I can say it that way, that there are a lot of people out there that have a similar mindset and want to step in to business in the 21st century in the tourism arena. And so I've really sort of stepped through a doorway, which to me is both spiritual and fulfilling the side of me that I've always sort of not really fed too much. And so I get this spiritual Aboriginal connectivity along with dealing with people of a similar mindset and people that have enthusiasm and want to reach out to the world and say, hey, here we are. We've always been here, but we've never had this opportunity before. And that WAITOC is the facilitator for me. And I don't think, honestly, and I've been around quite a bit, and I've worked in different levels over the years, right to the top levels of government in connectivity, not directly, but I've never really sort of seen an organisation like WAITOC. So I think they inhabit a space that nobody else inhabits, in my mind. And it's very unique and it's very special and needs to be protected. And that's why I'm here. I would go to utmost lengths to promote them. So I sound like I'm a fanboy, and I am. And yeah, I just hope that the work that has been commenced by WAITOC, and especially in the arena of the ATWA funding model, continues, because it's one thing to be government funded, but you're really using the taxes that you're paying. When people are giving out of their pockets, philanthropy wise, it just makes you so much more, I don't know, thankful. That's how I feel. I've said it before, and I'll just keep on harping on about it. But our cafe is continuing on, and we're seeing a good success this year. The cruise ships are looking to come back into WA. Our visitation levels are up at the cafe by 30% this year. I've tracked it through all the metrics. And so our figures are up. The help from WAITOC with some of the infrastructure in the cafe has been tremendous, because it means that we didn't have to really dig into our working capital in order to get some of the things that we needed. And that's helped us get on our feet, I believe, a lot quicker than we would have. Now in this third year, we're starting to see the results. Doing some of the analyses through the business help, which we hadn't done, we realised that our biggest area of need is in the area of promotional. We're very we do our jobs really well, and we're very good at what we do, but there are some blind spots, as in every business. So WAITOC's been very good in connecting us with with people in the digital marketing arena as well. So, look, I could waffle on for a long time, but I'll hand back now and just thank everybody for listening.
Thank you, Tony. Incredibly inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing that. You talked a little bit about a lot of people coming back,
Yep.
on country. What does that mean for the community? What's it feeling like? You've been there 3 years now. What's happening?
We didn't think that we'd ever get the opportunity in our lifetime. I think most of us feel that. But just seeing the faces downtown in Kalbarri, Aboriginal people connecting back and being part of the community as we did back in the day, it's a really good feeling. That I'm also a member of the local RSL because I'm involved to get recognition for our servicemen and women who went largely unrecognised for a long time. And I've been really well received by the community, had to stand up and talk publicly a couple of times. And so seeing my family members have more involvement, and the extended family members, we're all pretty well know each other and have connections with each other. It's a really good feeling, I think, with all of us being involved in the national park, some of the rangers that work for the national park and Nunda people, and our connection. It's tangible. It's hard for me to put into words. I don't think the English language has words to describe the feeling. But sometimes I like to couch it in terms as I talked to one guy that was a Scottish origin. And I said, it's a bit like this. It's like if you went back to Scotland and you walked through the castle of your ancestors and saw the big stag heads on the wall and heard the bagpipes in the distance. There's a feeling that would, it's deep in your DNA. And I guess that's that ephemeral, wispy feeling that we get being here in this place.
Thank you so much. I can really feel that as well. If you have any questions for Tony, please drop them in the chat. Tony will have a discussion in a minute if you're able to hang on. So thank you. That was incredibly inspiring, a beautiful story, as you've said many times before, Rob. And back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony. I promise that we didn't pay Tony for any of that as a fanboy. A lot of our members, talk about, the same things that we do. So some of the things I'll just quickly run through that Tony's mentioned, like, for example, the networking. We run the Australian Indigenous Tourism Conference, which is a national conference, which we bring around 300 Aboriginal tourism businesses from right around Australia together in one place. And this is that sort of networking that, you won't see anywhere else. I think also, Tony was talking about, his business is selling coffee, but I've been there and he does a lot more than that.
Thanks, Rob.
He also tells a story, as he was sort of talking about, people want to know about our culture. So on that wall, which he probably sort of mentioned about the photos and things that are there in right next to his cafe, is fantastic, and it has those stories to tell. And some of the things that are important to us now is how we position WA and the Aboriginal tourism sector to the nation, but to our visitors as well, through our marketing and through the messages that we're trying to tell. So we really want to work on improving our messaging and our narrative. Working together with partners is something we really want to do. Like, we want to collaborate with anyone, that wants to collaborate with us. Excuse me, and learn about our culture and learn, how strong it is. Sustainability is always something the government has sort of like said, hey, even to us as WAITOC, you need to be sustainable. So we work on that, and part of that is through this philanthropy journey as well. And we've got some exciting things coming up in that space. Again, they're talking about sustainability of the sector, but tourism is very up and down. Something else, I don't know whether Tony 3 years ago, I think, might not have been there, or could have been when the cyclone hit as well. So tourism was really affected in that Kalbarri region as well, which was part of the challenge of being in the tourism sector. And then growing our own financial prosperity as well as our businesses through that marketing, networking, and getting them known to visitors. And it's great to see that the visitation to the Skywalk's increasing. Our Tourism Academy is really it's a mentoring program, a one-on-one. I see a question just popped up, so I might just hit it quickly. Is really about creating an action plan for our businesses so that we can support them with some of the things Tony was mentioning. So it might be, marketing material, uniforms, small infrastructure, things like, might be a copy machine or something like that. So things that the business need, and we work with them on that. Part of, the things we want to solve now is about the government really want to know more about the economic impact that we have, but we really want to showcase, and we've tried measuring this, and this is part of what our data story is about, is measuring the social impact, not just the, the GDP or whatever, or the state incomes and things that the government want to see, but more around, how this ripple effect comes down to our, our members as well, and to the community that they work in. So the data is really important, and it's making our whole organisation more, as it says in the slide there, centralised and more, easier for government to pick up the reports, easier for philanthropy to pick up the reports, and it shares the impact of the community to our visitors as well. So we really want to show the visitors when they come here where, when they spend money on an Aboriginal tourism experience, it is actually going back to Aboriginal community as well. So so there's some of the things that data story is hoping to solve as well.
Thanks, Rob. And I'll just talk very briefly about how we did it. So when we started working with WAITOC, Rob and the team had a vision for telling an impact story, not just counting, but really understanding the whole story of impact. So we worked together to understand, what is it that you would like to measure, what stories, what elements, and aggregated this into a number of different domains, which Emily's going to show you in a moment. And we linked the data to those areas of focus to help WAITOC tell that story of impact. Now, it's really hard to get very tangible social impacts just with the numbers. So a big element of this is the storytelling from people like Tony, and we're going to show you how that's done as well. So we data activated, aligned all the data sources to the impact measurement, and then we created the first pass of a centralised reporting solution. So as many people know, when organisations have to report to government and philanthropy and many different types of partners and funders, it's a very time-consuming, and often it can be a very inefficient process. So what WAITOC has here is data that's up to date, and in some cases updated every month, to make sure that all of this is centralised, and at any point in time, really, the philanthropic partners or government can go into this centralised place for them to understand how things are tracking against their impact metrics. So that's very exciting. And Emily's going to show us in a moment. I think the other thing that we worked on together was to make sure it was sustainable. So connecting all the data sources as much as possible, it's automated, or making sure that we're managing all of that data so that it's available for WAITOC at any point in time. And Emily and the team can create data stories and update those based on their different audiences. So now, Emily, would you be happy to share?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name's Emily, and I've been working on the database with the data platform with Seer. So as mentioned, we report to a variety of different stakeholders and philanthropic supporters. So in order to do that, we do need a centralized reporting platform, and that's the Seer platform for us. This allows us to bring in a variety of different sources, from the ABS statistics to Tourism WA surveys, Tourism Australia surveys, and our own internal data from different connectors to our CRM. The way that we direct our stakeholders to view our Seer report is to come to our landing page. So from here, they're able to navigate out to see the WAITOC dashboard or the ATWA dashboard. So we're going to start with our WAITOC dashboard. This dashboard is really specialized and allows us to use text and graphics to communicate our data story, as well as charts to show progress and statistics. As we scroll through the page, we're able to go to our navigation section, which helps if people want to see a specific area of the report. They can use these to click down and view that. As we're scrolling through, as mentioned previously, it's difficult just to tell a story of impact with numbers. We need to show the case studies and the experiences that people are having. So with Seer, we work to embed our case studies within our dashboard and within our reports. We're able to pull in data from a variety of different sources. This one's from the VIA Tourism WA survey, and you're able to interact with it as you hover over the reports. So people are able to view these, and these are updated regularly, and via our online system. It's very easy to do, and having all the data there makes it time efficient. We're also able to bring in data from the ABS, which we've got down here. So we're able to have a larger view of the overall impact, not just our isolated statistics. And we're able to showcase different types of graphs as well in this platform. As mentioned by Rob, our marketing is very extensive, and the platform allows us not only to show our statistical data and our website hits, which are increasing and is something we're very proud of, but we can also link out to our downloadable brochures straight from the platform. So if our philanthropic supporters want to see the latest brochure, they can do that by clicking on this link here. This is all information that we've collated in this platform, and we're able to show it across financial years and across different platforms and charts, so that it really communicates our impact and how our membership is growing. Again, it's not just about statistics, but it helps that we can show our social impact using graphs. So this is an example of one of our surveys that we did that shows that the impact of tourism in Aboriginal communities is strong, it's high. We're able to increase a level of respect, show a positive impact on how youth see their future and how they view tourism as a career path. And that's able to be communicated in this report. Once we reach the bottom, we're able to transition to our ATWA dashboard, which is another branch that we look after. So our ATWA dashboard looks a little bit different because we're communicating a different message. This messaging focuses on our stories. It's for our philanthropic supporters, and so we want to communicate that impact really strongly in this dashboard. And that's why we link at the very top out to our case studies and stories. So all of these buttons are built in with hyperlinks. And when we click them, we're able to navigate to this second dashboard within our ATWA impact. And this helps us to showcase the number of case studies we have at the moment available for viewing, so that people are able to see their impact and where the funding is going and how we are supporting businesses. So with Tony, for example, we can see our support here, the impact that he's had and the future plans. We're also able to link out to the Philanthropy Australia article. So we're able to do that just by using this platform. So when people come, they can see their impact and how it extends across numerous industries and numerous supporters. And we're also able to link to Tony's website, which allows people to go directly there to see that impact. We're also then, once we've finished here, we're able to loop back to not only our WAITOC dashboard, but back to our landing page. It makes a full circle. And so we're able to see not only the statistical side of things, but also how our impact affects the people who are running the businesses.
Thanks so much, Emily. So we're about to jump into the discussion, but before we do, tell us about this, Rob.
Yes. So I suppose for the 20 odd years that WAITOC's been around, it's always thought that, we were the only ones in Australia, that are doing this sort of thing in our state. So we started on our own, advocating to other states to have a body, because we did a bit of research before I was CEO, when I was on the board of WAITOC, to find out how many organisations there were and what the impact would be on a national perspective, and also how to do it. So this First Nations Visitor Economy Partnership, which is a government name, as you can tell by the length of it, is something that's just started. We've only just had our third meeting. I'm the chair of that at the moment, and it's moving quite quickly, because we did a lot of stakeholder engagement through National Indigenous Australians Agency previously, and obviously in partnership also with Austrade, who are our secretariat. So the idea of the partnership at the moment, we've got 2 members from each state sitting together in a room, and we all talk about how we're going to create this national body, which is mirroring what WAITOC and ATWA basically do at a national level. So we've just had our third meeting, and Austrade are about to put out their newsletter and sort of tell everyone that so you're getting it hot off the press before they release it, that we actually are about to draw our constitution up. So possibly next year sometime, we should actually have a First Nations national body of some sort operating. So the biggest thing for that will be getting it funded once it's set up.
Thanks so much, Rob. That's really exciting. And how is this unique in the global market as well? It would be really interesting to know that, because I know that you have been pioneering so much of this work.
Yes, on a national level, again, WAITOC is right up there. In fact, I've been to conferences in other parts of the globe that they see Australia as like a leader in this space. But we've never had that national perspective before. It's all because of the work that WAITOC's done. And we've been invited to speak on many levels, and I have as well, through different platforms and things. But the World Indigenous Tourism Alliance, we also own the rights to the World Indigenous Tourism Summit, which was hosted in Perth a few years ago, and is about to be hosted next year in Durban in South Africa, which we're looking forward to going to, because that moves around. So all these different, as Tony was sort of highlighting before, these networking opportunities aren't just national, they're also international as well. And part of this whole partnership, the First Nations Visitor Economy Partnership, was I had those connections, so I brought those connections to the partnership so we basically had any national body, which is only really 3 around, well, actually only 2 that I know of in the world, other than this new partnership, which is in Canada and New Zealand, had them present to us to say, hey, this is our model, what do you think? And then our partnership could go away and decide how we want to set up. So it's very exciting.
Brilliant. Thank you. All right, so we're going to get into the Q&A. I've got a couple of questions. There are some questions in the chat. Please, everybody, add your questions. It'd be great to hear from you. Before I get to the platform question, I think, Rob, I'd really love to know a little bit more. You're very strong on telling the social impact, not just the economic impact. And we heard Tony's story today, and you know, I'm feeling very connected to his story, and also, you know, there are just so many of those stories across WA and those members that you're supporting. It's very exciting. What does it mean to have the data to tell that holistic story of impact, and what is it going to create for ATWA and WAITOC and your members?
Yes, so look, data is the way that we got where we are, really. Even before, you know, obviously what we're working with you guys on at the moment in the Seer platform, we had to advocate for government to try and get some kind of data, you know, that we could use, I guess, as a weapon to get funding, because there wasn't any data on Aboriginal tourism. So we made sure that Tourism Research Australia at a national level started asking questions of visitors, and it showed, when it first went out, that 80% of people wanted an Aboriginal tourism experience when they visited Australia, but only 20% were getting one. So that little bit, that 1 or 2 questions in that international survey really highlighted the fact that there's a gap between how many people want it and how many people can get it. Through the work we've done, you know, over the past 4 or 5 years, which is when we really started working with the philanthropists, that's now increased to actual, both in participation. So 87% of people now in WA, this is, want an Aboriginal tourism experience, but nationally it's still at 80%. And participation has now in WA gone from 17% to 36%, which is a big increase through the mentoring program that we're running. But telling the story of the social impact alongside the economic impact is essential, because the Aboriginal tourism is not just about the dollars. It's about dignity, culture, and community. The data helps us demonstrate how tourism businesses create jobs, build skills, and strengthen cultural identity, but it allows us to show funders and government partners that our work is economically viable and socially transformative as well. So this dual lens helps us advocate more effectively and secure support that aligns with our values, which we were talking about before.
Yeah, and that's really significant growth that you just mentioned then, which is incredibly exciting. Emily showed, you know, the demo, it's centralising reporting. Emily, just wanted to ask you, how much time is it, you know, can you estimate how much time it's saving? And
Oh, a lot. So instead of having to identify all of the different areas where we get data, instead of me having to go and do that and check out the different sources on ABS and contact our different partners, instead it's all built into Seer, especially the ABS database. And so we're able to directly link that to our systems and our reports. It would save me, I don't even know how to put a number on it, because when we're generating our reports, we're able to just cut down so much time, and the fact that once we have our initial table inputted into the system, so the initial sort of parameters in which we're doing data, updating it is a breeze, and with our HubSpot connector, where that's done automatically every month, it updates and renews the data, so we're able to see that sort of at a glance, how that's going and how that's progressing.
yeah, so thank you. Rob, you talked about wanting to share the story of impact with the broader community and visitors as potentially, you know, another phase, because right now you're using this information for your own internal purposes, for reporting and highlighting need, which I think is brilliant. When you share it with the community and potential visitors, like, what do you think that's going to bring?
Yeah, so I suppose we want to amplify our businesses or our Aboriginal tourism, you know, members, their voices through, I guess, our website now, or ATWA website, and the data, as I think Emily sort of showcased a little bit of, the stories that we can then plug into that website are really important for people to see. And again, without the philanthropy support, we wouldn't have been able to even work with Seer because, you know, they supplied some funding that we could hire an Emily, who's done a lot of amazing work on the platform. So it really is about like connecting the stories from our members to the visitors in a different way, rather than just a marketing to them. It's hearing the impact of the work that we do as well, so that, you know, on a global scale, there's a lot more people interested now in that sort of impact, whether it be, you know, the social impact, or whether it's, you know, around when they come here, you know, even the flying here as a long haul destination. We've got to start thinking about how we can get people here in a regenerative way, rather than just, you know, using up our planet's resources.
Thanks, Rob. I've got a couple of questions coming in on the chat. How can, this is a wonderful question, how can Indigenous tourism and cultural initiatives generate new data that might better reflect strength, connection, and identity?
I think, well, part of the work that we do with you is really around doing that. So it's about the storytelling, and the stories about how the work that you do in the Aboriginal tourism space really isn't. In fact, there's only, I think, one other, I suppose, industry that I would suggest that can give this sort of working on country to communities where they don't have to leave home. They can earn money on their country, and that'd be a ranger program, Aboriginal ranger program. Otherwise, Aboriginal tourism is one of those industries that allows Aboriginal people to stay on country and work on country, protect it, and keep the stories alive. So it's really about telling their stories to show that impact. Hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you. Yeah. Emily, maybe you can answer this. Otherwise, if not, I'll have a go. Can you tell us a bit about the process for deciding which metrics to include in the dashboard and which stories and case studies to highlight?
Yeah, so when I was working with you guys and when WAITOC were working together, we really wanted to decide, first of all, who our audience was, and then how we wanted to tell our story. So when we're looking at deciding which metrics, we're looking at what survey questions and what statistical data will help support the story of our impact in Indigenous tourism. So we wanted to focus on some qualitative sources, so the question and answers, and looking at the range of like strong agree and not agree sort of types of questions and metrics that we wanted to use. And then we also looked from an economic side. So what was the dollar impact? How many jobs were being provided? How many people were spending money on these types of activities? And so that sort of, we first determined what we wanted to show and what our story is and what we want to share with the community. And then we identified what statistics and sources would be able to support that. Chrissy, if you've got any additions.
No, absolutely. And I think I might just add to that. Zoe's question was the back end. How long did it take to build the platform and dashboards from concept to design? Well, the Seer platform is a platform you can subscribe to, and we have open data, publicly available data in there and ready to go, and you can create all of that. But it's really about the time, I think, Emily, it's really about you deciding and WAITOC deciding what were the impact metrics that you wanted to focus on, and then once we knew that, then we could source the data and bring the data in, connect into your systems. So in terms of timing, it can, if you know what you'd like to measure and you have data available, it can be very fast within a very short period of time, less than a month. But really what we found out is, you know, it takes a little bit of time to agree what you want to measure and those metrics. The other element to it is as well, if you're reporting to government and to philanthropy, there might be reporting metrics that you must report on, and so they become the standard metrics as well as other social impact metrics, which we spoke about earlier.
Yeah. And I think, oh, sorry, can I add? I think
Please.
also the design element to it is a really big consideration when we want to create the dashboards. We want to make sure that it's authentic to our branding and authentic to the story that we want to tell. So we did put time into identifying how we wanted it laid out, how we can communicate those case studies throughout the dashboard, not just left to the end, because they're really important in how we want to display our data and how we want to tell that story of impact.
Thanks, Emily. I've got two more questions. What approaches have worked for balancing community priorities with funder or government data requirements?
Great question. So, I mean, our communities we link to through our members. So they're really our link to the community stories. So I guess, you know, we talk to them quite a lot through member surveys, through, you know, our we've got an actual member Facebook page. I don't know whether Tony's aware of that, but one that you can go on and talk to each other rather than being on your own Facebook page and, you know, letting the whole world know what we're talking about, sort of thing. So this closed Facebook page where you can just talk to other members and, you know, you might have a bit of a, you know, talk about what's working, what's not working and that sort of thing. So it is important that we are connected to the community, but it's more so through those members that we are connected. What was the second part of that question?
Well, how do you balance community priorities with funder or government data requirements?
Yeah, so this is where I suppose sometimes they clash, but the government priorities, obviously, you know, for WAITOC is around our funding. But we, through our advocacy, we try and make sure that the government understand what those community, you know, community wants are. So we try and do it that way, and then that helps, I guess, Tourism WA, which is who our main funder is in Western Australia, to understand what those needs are, and then they can develop the KPIs in our contract, so to speak, that we get funding from to try and meet some of those wants from the community and needs.
And so that, again, that advocacy work and the blending of those partnerships. Yeah,
that's correct. We over the years we've had to really change mindsets of our state government, even to the point where we wanted to run some programs around art, you know, for artists within our organisation, and there was a lot of pushback saying, well, that's not tourism, that's retail. So our advocacy piece was, well, hang on a minute, who buys Aboriginal art? It's visitors coming, so it isn't just retail. So over that period, so now we have a program that we run called Art with Custodians. It's funded by the state government that really supports Aboriginal art centres to become part of the tourism industry as well.
Brilliant. This is a great question from Steve Jones. Thank you, Steve. Commending you on the efforts and success to date. Have you considered capturing data to inform the reconciliation partners or closing the gap socioeconomic outcomes and targets?
Not as yet, but as I said, I think you mentioned before, this is the first part of our journey. So we've got a lot further to go yet. So a great comment, and it is something that we're looking at how we can do that as well.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you. I might pause the discussion now, and if we can bring Tony back on the spotlight. Are you there, Tony? He might have needed to get back to the business.
Yeah, he sounded like it was busy.
Yeah,
which is
exactly. Okay, well, in the last couple of minutes, Rob, I think it's really important that you lay out what your asks are for this group of people here today who I'm sure are incredibly inspired, not only by WAITOC and ATWA's leadership and the model, your advocacy in Australia and also globally, but by the stories that we've heard from the members and from Tony, of course. Those stories that you showed briefly, Emily, I read through them today and all of them are incredible. So, Rob, do you have any asks from the group here today?
Sure. Look, I think, you know, continuing to support Aboriginal-led initiatives is really important to us, not just in WA, but nationally, as I say, because moving forward, while we're really working strongly together to get that First Nations Visitor Economy Partnership up and running. We'll really need everyone to support, and part of our advocacy role is talking to those other industry bodies and government and philanthropists about getting behind that. So we're setting that up also to have a similar setup as ATWA, so it can have a diversified income. Just maybe through your networks, helping to amplify the story that we're telling or trying to get out there. Collaborating with us to do that. Advocating for a sustained investment in the digital tool space, because in Aboriginal tourism across Australia, there's not a lot of digital data out there. So helping and supporting, getting these platforms off the ground, because it isn't free. We have to collaborate with Seer, and Seer, work closely with us, but we still, want to do that in a respectful way. So working with Aboriginal organisations to get that data story out there. And as I said, just collaborating us to refine and expand our dashboard, is really relevant to us about the impact that we're having.
Thank you. If there are any other questions, please drop them in. Angus, could you please flip up how people will contact Rob? So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I'm sure you agree it's very inspiring work that WAITOC and ATWA are doing. Rob, thank you for your time and for sharing the story. Emily, thank you very much for walking us through your work and for the work that you do. And thank you to Tony for his incredible story and for joining us today. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon, and look forward to catching up with you soon.